Hey folks, Damien with Southpaw Designs, and today we are going to learn all about using a touch probe and probing your CNC for the X, Y, and Z. In addition, we're also going to try out a little experiment. We're going to see if we can manually set the X, Y, and Z and get an accurate cut without actually using a probe. And we're going to kind of weigh the pros and cons of it a little bit. So stick around, hope you enjoy. And if you have any questions, please leave them in the comments below. And if you have any words of wisdom, also leave those down in the comments below, because as I tell everybody, I'm still learning, I'm trying new things out, and I want to hear your experience because a lot of you guys have a lot more experience than I do. Okay, so as we are setting up our material, notice that we have a width of 9 inches. We have a height of 4.5 inches and a thickness of 0.5 inches. Now, the material that I'm actually going to use is going to be 3/4 of an inch, so it won't cut all the way through, and I'm fine with that for these testing purposes. Also notice that the 0 position is the material surface. That's important when you're setting up your probe. And notice that the X and Y is set to this bottom left-hand corner, which we will see when we actually go to the CNC and actually perform our XYZ probe.
Now, make sure that you measure the thickness of your material. This is 3/4 inch plywood, but as you can see, it's actually only 0.73 inches, and you always want to be aware of that. Now we're going to go ahead and adhere this to the spoil board. And next, make sure that you move your dust boot connectors out of the way. It's very easy to leave those in the way and end up snapping those off.
Okay, now a couple of things to keep in mind when you're probing here. It's very important to pay attention to your increments, because especially when you're setting your Z and you get it right over top here, I like to get it as close as I can. It just goes quicker. Well, if you have your increment set to half of I believe that's set to centimeters, half of a centimeter, and you're already really close and you hit it, it's going to go right into this probe. And this is a machine. It does what you tell it to. I've snapped a couple of smaller bits before because I wasn't paying attention to my increments. So be very careful when you're setting up that probe. Don't accidentally, I've got these big fat beefy fingers, hit the wrong increment and then move it down, because what's likely to happen is you can snap a bit, you can really do some damage to your machine. So be very careful with that.
All right, so let's go ahead and get it in position here. We need to put it up in that top right hand corner of our probe. There is a little circle there to show you approximately where it needs to go. Now we're going to hit the probe XYZ button, and we have to actually touch the probe to our bit. Then it will say confirm, ready to go. We confirm the size bit. I'm using a 1/4 inch bit. Click set, and it takes off and does its thing here. So you will notice that it's going pretty quickly right here, and I have sped this up. It takes about a minute and a half to actually perform the entire process, and it will probe the Z first, then it comes over to the right and will probe I guess that would be the X, and then it does the Y right there, and we're good. It'll say complete. You click OK, and we're done.
Okay, so what we see here is that now that we have probed the X, Y, and Z, I'm going to go ahead and remove the probe. We see that the tip of the router is right there on that front corner. So it recognizes the front left-hand corner of your material. Now, there's no requirement that you set it to the front left-hand corner. You can set it to the center. You can set it to any other corner. I typically set it to the front left-hand side unless I have a reason not to. Okay, so is it really necessary to actually use a touch probe, or can you manually set it yourself? Now, I'm going to come right out and say that I would recommend that you actually invest in a touch probe. I think it's going to save you more time, more hassle in the long run, and it only takes one failure up here to break a bit, then you've wasted 20, 30 bucks or more, and you could actually damage more of it. But let's give it a shot and actually see what happens. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to manually try to set this, and then we're going to run it and see what happens. Now, I'm going to watch it very closely because this is an experiment. And the goal is not to create a finished piece here. The goal is really just to test and see what happens. So let's go ahead and position it. So I'm going to go ahead. I've already got the X and Y positioned right there, but I'm going to come down and I'm going to position the Z, and I want to be very precise. So I'm moving at 0.05 centimeters at a time. Now that's really, really close. I'm going to go to 0.005, and I think that's about as good as we're going to get. So now I'm going to set that as my Z. So there's the 0 right there. So I'm set to 0, 0, 0 for the X, Y, and Z. Now I'm going to back it off just a little bit, move it up there. And I've already got a coaster loaded. It's just a simple circle design that I do quite a bit. So I know exactly what it's supposed to look like. It's going to be about a 4-inch coaster that's got a little pocket right there in the middle. So let's go ahead and hit start and see what happens.
Okay, so we're going to let it run here. I have not edited this. I'm going to let you see the entire project from start to finish, but I have sped it up to about, I believe it's 800% speed. So we're going to see this entire cut in less than a minute. But since we are performing an experiment here, I do think that it's important that we actually see the entire project from start to finish so we can see what the finished work looks like. Now, you will notice a lot of burrs. I'm using an upcut bit right here. I should really be using a downcut bit, but no big deal. So now we're actually going to do the cutout. You'll notice that it does not go all the way through to the bottom of the board because this is a 1/2 inch project and I'm using a 3/4 inch piece of material.
Okay, so we're all done. So let's go ahead and move it out of the way. Okay, so now let's take a look right here. Now, I know what this particular file should look like because this is a simple coaster file. I make them all the time. In fact, I've got a couple of other videos where I show you how to actually do these. So let's go ahead and remove it. And let's take a look. Now, it didn't cut all the way through. That's fine. That's not a mistake. This file is only a 1/2 inch. Yet this board, this is 3/4 inch plywood, so I measured it, and it's actually 0.72, 0.73 inches. So I didn't expect it to cut all the way through. What I did want to see is how did it do with actually cutting it out using a manually probed X, Y, and Z in this front corner. And as you can see, it actually did a really good job. Knowing what this file should look like, this actually turned out really well by manually probing it with the X, Y, and Z. It's got about 0.2 inches right there that you can see, and it cut out both of them really well. So in a simple project like this that I've cut over and over and over again, I really can say that I don't feel that it's a big deal to manually probe it. Now that said, I don't think I really encourage it because if you were doing something that was more precise, or that potentially you had multiple tool changes on the same piece, which most work pieces are going to involve a level of complexity that's higher level than this. You're going to want that accuracy. So even though we see that you still can manually set your X, Y, and Z, I don't know if I really recommend that. So let's do one other thing right here. Now this should be a 1/2 of an inch. So let's grab our calipers and let's see how deep it actually did cut right there. All right, so I'm gonna manually try to line that up there. And it looks like I got 0.49 inches. So if I was off about 1/100th of an inch, which I can handle that for something as imprecise as this. And for those of you guys that watch my videos, those of you who've subscribed, I want to say thank you. I crossed over the 2,000 subscriber mark this week, and I'm happy to say that I reached the goal. For many of you who follow this channel, you know that I'm a high school teacher, and the original start of this particular channel was an experiment that I did with my promotional media class. So school got out yesterday, and I crossed over 2,000 subscribers and was able to get monetized and show those kids that it is something that can happen. So I want to say thank you guys for all the support. And I've taken a couple of weeks off just to kind of regroup a little bit, and I'm looking forward to moving forward. So thank you guys for everything, and comment below and let me know what types of videos you'd like to see. I appreciate all of you, and thank you.